All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is It's Too Late to Cover Up Now. And pretty much, this is centered around this particular video on Instagram. As you can see, it says the slavery exhibits at the president's house have been removed. And this is what Esau is trying to do. He's trying to remove all of the bad publicity or anything that reminds them of the wicked things that they've done in order to get to the position that where they're at. What they did to Gad, Reuben, Issachar, the northern kingdom, what they did to the southern kingdom, bringing them here in captivity, taking the lands of the natives of this land here, Canada, Central America, South America, Mexico, and they're trying to erase that because they're tired of being put on the spotlight as far as their wickedness is concerned. They're tired of feeling guilt. They feel that they've paid enough just for the humility that they've been put through, so-called. So now they're removing everything that reminds them of that and reminds the world of that, because they don't want that history out there. But humility or humiliation ain't going to be what's going to fix the problem. I got a couple of precepts to start off with. Exodus chapter, what is that? I haven't gone to this in a minute. Nope, that's not it. It's been a minute since I've gone here, so Exodus 21:16. It says, "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death." So that's the law. That's how you pay. This is what the Lord said, he will not at all acquit the wicked, because they're not going to make themselves pay. And now they're trying to hide the shameful, things that they've done in this, in this country and around the world that, holds them accountable. They're tired of this being thrown up into their face, at the UN and, different nations, us here, the prophets, here in America, Jake in general, that have some kind of idea of what's going on, bringing this stuff up to their face. So this is how you pay. You got to be put to death. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's he that stealeth a man. You stole Jake, the southern kingdom, from the so-called west coast of Africa, brought him here in captivity. They're still in your hands. You stole us while, when you came over here, the conquistadors and the rest of you Edomite devils that came over to this side of the world. You stole us. You sent us as slaves back to so-called Europe and all of that. So it says, and selleth him, and you sold us. And if he be found in his hand, and we're still found in your hand today, because pursuant to the 14th Amendment, we're still slaves, contractual slaves. 13th and 14th Amendment says he shall surely be what? Put to death. So you can't just erase the past and think that everything is just going to go away. It doesn't work like that. This is Numbers chapter 33 and verse, is it 33? Like I said, I haven't gone through these precepts in a minute. Nope, it's 35, Numbers 35, 33. See, sometimes you can quote scriptures, and sometimes if you don't go over it for a while, you kind of forget exactly where they're at, but that's all right. Numbers 35, 33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Matter of fact, let me get two more precepts. I'm going to go back to that one. And you devils don't want to pay. And now you're trying to scramble to hide your past, but it's not going to work. We're going to read this again, Numbers 35:33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. And that's self-explanatory, because this goes back to Genesis, the 9th chapter, and even before that, because Cain, killed Abel, and then when the earth was re-established or repopulated, this is what the Lord told Noah. Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of the powers made he man. So pretty much, if you commit a murder, you shed somebody's blood, you have to be held accountable for it. You have to be the one that has to be put down, and that's why here it says that in Numbers 35:33, so you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. We get one more, and then I'm going to go to the other one. And you devils that are here today, you are the forefathers that are coming back in the reincarnation. This is why these so-called Christians don't want to accept reincarnation, because if they accept that, then they have to accept that they are the fathers that shed our blood in the past, and they're going to have to pay in this time. So Isaiah 14:21 says, prepare slaughter for his children. So you're being prepared for slaughter. You are the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. So you're being prepared for slaughter because you are the ones that committed these crimes in the past. And you still have that deep-seated hatred for the Israelites. Now, some of you that look like so-called white people, Edomites, you're really Israelites because, your lineage or your line goes back to a so-called black man, Latino man, Native American Indian man down the line. And this is why you are sympathetic to Jake. This is why you get upset when you see these atrocities. This is why you scream, of bloody murder, because you are not an Edomite, even though you may look like an Edomite. When you see these things happening, you get upset because this also happened to you. So just because you look like a so-called white man doesn't mean that you're an Edomite. And same thing with other nations. You have Israelites that look like other nations that are appalled by the things that are going on, and they'll speak out against it in certain cases. They're doing that because they're Israelites. So you devils got to pay. You're being prepared for slaughter. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities, because we see how that turned out. When these devils took over, what happened? Look at the devastation and the corruption, and the bloodshed and the murders and the robbery, that have been committed upon the planet Earth. And this is why the Lord said, let's go to Isaiah 26:21. It says, for behold, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth, beginning with who? Esau and the nations. It says, for their iniquity, the earth also shall disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain. So you're going to have to pay for what your forefathers did. You're being prepared for slaughter. And you have to remember, although what we have today, as far as the account of the slaughter, and the enslavement, is just an estimation, there are many other Israelites on this land that were put to death that we don't even know about. Stuff that has gone, that has been swept under the rug, inside joke, for a long time. But now it's being made manifest, and although we may not know every account of every soul that you destroyed and killed, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai knows. That's why it says the earth shall no more disclose her blood. And it says, it shall no more cover her slain, because you're going to pay. The Lord is going to make it right. You're going to have to make it right. The word for disclose is galah, galah, to uncover, remove. See, so the earth is going to uncover and remove. This is what's happening right now. The veil is being lifted. That dark veil that you put over the world of what you did. Now you're trying to cover it up even more. But the Lord said He's not going to, allow you to get away. It says to remove, to depart. And this is why you have to, shed. Your blood has to be shed for the blood that you shed. And it says here that the earth shall no more cover her slain. You go to the word cover. The word is kasa, to cover, conceal, hide. So you're not going to be able to hide. Although you're trying to hide the evidence, the Lord is going to bring the evidence to pass. And the word for slain is the word harag, which means to kill. Harag, to kill, slay, murder. See? And this is what you've done on the planet Earth. So here, this post, slavery exhibits removed from Philadelphia's Independence National Historical Park. So these Edomites are on a campaign to get rid of all of the history, the shameful history of how they got this country. All right. It says here, Philly Inquirer, the National Park Service has started dismantling exhibits about slavery at the President's House in Independence National Historical Park. The President's House, which serves as a memorial to the 9 people George Washington enslaved there during the founding of America, has come under increasing scrutiny by President Donald Trump's administration. The President and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum ordered content at national parks that inappropriately disparaged the U.S. to be reviewed and potentially removed. Inappropriately disparaged. It's just a travesty. You can't put this on white people. They're just not going to have it. So the term inappropriate disparage refers to actions that criticize or negatively portray historical figures or events in a way that is deemed improper or offensive. So here it is, the offense was brought upon us, right? But they're the ones that feel offended. They did all this dirt, all this murder, robbery, rape and all this, but they're the ones that feel offended by it. Not us. We shouldn't feel offended. We should just forget about it. They feel offended that we are actually bringing it up, throwing it back into their face. And it's not us, it's the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai that's throwing it back in your face. Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 15. Matter of fact, I started at 14. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai as the waters cover the earth. This is twofold. This is talking about the chariot of Yahweh Shai and the chariots when they come back, but it's also talking about the knowledge, this truth that has compassed, that has compassed and is compassing the world, and this truth is putting the scope on you devils for the wickedness that you've done, because the first step before you're judged is for you to be exposed. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and you make Jake to move in the direction that they're moving. You're the one that cloned Tyrone and Keisha, and Shirley and all of them, to be molded, to what you see right now. There's a prototype, and that prototype has caught on like wildfire in the hood among all, the Southern Kingdom. This is why every young Jake you see now all look the same. It's like clones. They're all clones. Every so-called black woman you see out there all look the same. They're all clones of each other. They all have the umbrellas. They all talk the way they talk. They're loud, stubborn. Jake is just degenerate, pants hanging off. It's a assembly line, of degenerates that you have created. You got to pay for this. You did this. Woe to him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also. You made Jake drunk. Yeah, Jake is wicked, but you are the one that facilitated, this infrastructure. mass produce these demons, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. And that's what you're doing. Because as long as Jake stays in that condition, you don't have anything to worry about. This is why you're removing slavery, anything that has to do with slavery, anything about you having to take this land, any criticism against you for stealing this land from the Native American Indians. This is why you are even going so far as to detain so-called Native American Indians and deport them. Where are you going to deport them to? This is their land. If anybody should be deported, it should be you goddamn devils. The fucking nerve of you, I mean, the audacity of this fucking devil is just amazing. It's through the fucking roof, And I was watching the video that Elder Pastor did, and yeah, hey, if Obadiah, which we already know what Obadiah is saying, that you're going to be exterminated, but if not, hey, we don't mind kicking your ass forever. You deserve that shit. You don't deserve to get no fucking breaks, because you're a fucking straight up whole demon. Not a half, not a quarter, a whole goddamn demon. You motherfuckers, man. You got some fucking nerve, to feel offended for the shit that you did. It's just like somebody come in your house, fucks your wife, and then, he gets offended because you're calling him out on it. I mean, the fucking audacity of these motherfuckers, man. And that's why, man, we can't get our hands on you in the kingdom fast enough. The kingdom of heaven can't come fast enough so that we can put a foot in your ass and keep it there. And even on the Sabbath, your ass is going to be tormented in dreams. You ain't going to get no fucking rest, you motherfuckers. You rotten, dirty motherfucker. You goddamn scoundrel, you fucking knave, you nasty, demonic creature. And Pastor said that years ago that we got to invent new words for these fucking devils, because there's not enough words to insult your fucking ass. You motherfucker, you got a nerve to fucking get mad. You got a nerve to be offended for the shit that you did to us, you motherfucker. It says, thou art filled with shame for glory, drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. Right. Just like it's a shame to really be butt naked in public. So you're being made butt naked before the world. And this is why you're resorting to remove, all of the artifacts that point to your guilt, you fucking devil. The cup of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai's right hand shall be turned unto thee. Right. And that's why the prophets are on your ass through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai, bringing out your filthiness, your wickedness, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory, because the first step to judgment is revelation. And you already been revealed, you already been sentenced, and we're at the ending of the sentencing stage. And next is going to be the judgment that the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai is going to bring upon you. Then the kingdom of Yahweh Shai / Yasha Allah, and then we will commence to kicking your fucking ass. So if it's got to be forever, then so be it. But we already know that you're going to be exterminated, because after that 1,000 years of you getting your ass kicked, you're going to have served your purpose on the earth. You're nothing more than a demon that has been used to punish us, and now the Lord is going to get you back. I believe a brother put it up in 2 Thessalonians 1:6. It is a righteous thing with the Lord that recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. So let's go back here. So it says, ordered content at national parks that inappropriately disparage the U.S. to be reviewed and potentially removed. Inappropriate disparage, the term inappropriate disparage refers to actions that criticize or negatively portray historical figures or events in a way that is deemed improper or offensive. So what's improper or offensive about you murdering the Native American Indians? It's the so-called Mexican Indians, the so-called Seminole Indians, the rest of the, native, so-called natives that were here, the Northern Kingdom of the Nation of Israel. What's so inappropriate about that? What's so negative about that? As far as what's improper about that or offensive about that? That's what you did. Ain't that what you did? This concept is often associated with executive orders aimed at ensuring that national monuments and historical sites do not present a false or negative narrative about American history. What's false about is this? First of all, hold it now. What's false about this? About slavery exhibits? Did this not happen? Is this false? No, this happened, and that's why you got these clowns, the FBA clowns, talking about that. No, that Jake was already here. They were never brought here on slave ships. There's no evidence of the slave ships. Shut the fuck up, man. You know. And they paid a lot of those guys to say that shit because this was their plans in the first place, to remove all this shit. Because they don't want to pay, but you're going to pay. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So it says, for instance, an executive order signed by President Trump sought to remove content that it appropriately disparages Americans past or living from national parks and museums, focusing instead on promoting American exceptionalism and positive historical narratives. There is no exceptionalism or positive historical narratives that you devils have. This is why years ago at One West, we used to say, what? Name me one good thing that the so-called white man has done. And we'll wait. You know? Goddamn devils. We got some fucking nerve. But nevertheless, as you see, you know, y'all saw the video, you know. Let's see, is there any more? And it just goes on to say, around 3 p.m. Thursday, an Independence Park employee told an inquirer reported that his supervisor instructed him to take down all the displays at the iconic site earlier that day. Two other individuals later joined the employees to help remove the educational exhibit. I'm just following our orders, the employee repeatedly said, refusing to say whether he was tasked with removing the displays because of the executive order. One by one, the exhibits, including those entitled Life Under Slavery and the Dirty Business of Slavery, were taken down. See? White fragility in action. It happened. Don't run from it. Yeah, that's true. It happened. Don't run from it. A bunch of white men taking these down a while. And these are looks like white people saying this. The hate is so blatant. Laugh aloud. Yeah, well, the Lord said, you know, who shall bemoan thee? The Lord wasn't joking. This removes the plaque, but it doesn't remove the stain. Woo! Damn, that was heavy. You know, I gotta put this in the chat. Let me copy that. Brothers could probably save that. God damn, that's some heavy. That's heavy right there. This is Miami Reese, 20 hours ago. It says, this removes the plaque, but it doesn't remove the stain. Damn. That's a very profound statement. Everybody needs to start hoarding books with history in it. They're going to try to get rid of all that. Absolutely what? Shameful. Shameful spewing on thy glory. I am stunned at the audacity and boldness of this administration. Look at what we set in motion. Look at what we allowed to happen. We did not vote. Well, fuck voting. We would not vote for a black woman. We voted. Well, first of all, if you'd have voted for her, you would have been in the worst case. We voted for an immoral despot, a would-be dictator. We voted for, well, that's your goddamn fault. You shouldn't have been voting anyway. When the votes were going up and the Constitution was being written, you know, your ancestors were in slavery. They weren't included in the voting process. They were never meant to vote. I'm not going to read no more of that. We remember history so that history doesn't repeat itself. Just following orders. Where have I heard that? Wow, why is the government so focused on obscuring the past? Because it's shameful to them. To everyone who's enraged at this, some thoughts from former and current park rangers. First, you should be mad This is but one example of the censorship and rewriting of history, science, and culture. That's exactly what it is. Being directed by Secretary Order 3431. Y'all can look that up. And Executive Order 14253. Copy. Executive Order 14253, titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. No, hiding truth so that you can try to find some kind of sanity. Aims to reshape how American history is presented in museums and educational institutions, particularly focusing on the Smithsonian Institution. I could see Elder Malcolm having a ball with this. It says, to restoring truth and sanity to American history, suffice to say the purpose is the opposite. It's a highly partisan racist effort to literally whitewash American that's been occurring in escalated force for over a year, not just at Philly, but at every national park and federal site. Those are facts. However, remember that park staff are under incredible pressure and stress from an additional 24% fired or forced out since last year, and constant belittlement, pay cuts / freezes, and harassment have pushed people to the brink. Many park staff live paycheck to paycheck. Get another fucking job. Some of the rangers you see at national parks live out of their cars. We don't know the politics of the staff shown dismantling signs, but the primary focus of anger at this should start at the source, Trump Secretary Burgum, Russ Vought, Project 2025, and countless other heritage groups who've pushed for this moment. Yeah, and pretty much, it's them small hats too that's behind it, because they're the ones that pretty much facilitated the ships that brought Jake over here in captivity. You know, let me see. Let me see what it says. I'm just gonna type this in. Y'all can see. Um, Let me see. Which we know they're not. We know they're not the Israelites, but provide. Watch what it's gonna say. Probably gonna say some bullshit. It's gonna say some bullshit. Based on historical records, it claimed that Small has controlled or provided the ships for the Atlantic slave trade is false. See why? Because they control Google, they control the chat. Everything is favorable to them, which is the total lies. And when you look at those ships, you look at the individuals that own those ships, they were small hats. While individual, you know, small hat merchants participated in the trade, they did not play a leading or disproportionate role in the financing, ship ownership. Yes, they did, or operation of the transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, because the individuals, they may have been Jake or may not. I don't know, but you had, a handful of small hats in Spain that gave money to the crown to uh, finance, Cristobal Colon to come over to this side of the world. Those are facts. I believe one of them was Santangel, if I'm not mistaken. Abraham something, another one. It was about three, Isaac something, a Bravanel or something like that. I forget the names. It was like three major ones. It says small roles. Scholars, including Ellie Faber and David Breon Davis, found that small hat people were not a major factor in the. You're a goddamn lie. Slave trade or slave owners in Americas. Minor involvement in Newport, Rhode Island, one of the few places with a notable small hat merchant community. They controlled less than 10% of the voyages in the 18th century. The allegations that significant small hat control often stem from anti. See, there you go. There you go. That once you see that term, people are like, oh, see, I knew it. Uh, let's see something. Uh, Ships that brought enslaved people to America were primarily owned by European, British, and late American merchants. Let me see some. What are the names of ship owners? Numerous. Aaron Lopez, small hat. Jacob Rivera. I believe these are small. The DeWolf family, James DeWolf and Timothy Meir. Others involved in investing or in owning slave vessels include Isaac Franklin, John Armfield, the merchants like John Brown, alongside syndicates from Liverpool. Aaron Lopez, he was a small hat. I'm not sure if this, because I know Rivera is not well, these small hats, they changed their names too. Let me see something. Let me give another one. How many ships did historical evidence show that small hats did not play? I didn't ask you that. I said how many ships did they own? Minimal participation. See how they keep diverting again. No, this guy over here, and this dude over here, and him, and that family, and this family. But nah, we didn't have nothing to do. A very small portion. They're not gonna give you that. You got to. See, the what? The American Small Hat Committee condemns claims that small hats control the slave trade, calling such narratives false. So of course they're not gonna give you the truth. Goddamn devil worshippers. But you see that. So going back to the post, it says this administration has gleefully proclaimed that they want federal workers to be harassed and targeted that play into their hand. And this is pretty much what they do. They pretty much are backing the world into a corner. That's why in this is how they're going to get people to accept the MOTB, which is the micro C hip. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So these devils are going to push people into a corner. Let's go to Revelation 13, our favorite. That's in 16. And he causeth all. Let's go to that word causes. The word there is poleo or poieo, to make, see, with the names of things, to produce, construct, form, fashion, etc., to be the authors of, the cause, to make ready, to prepare, to produce, bear, shoot forth, to acquire, to provide a thing for oneself, to make a thing out of something, to make an example, render one anything. Just trying to see if there's some good meat in here we can glean out. See, cause 1, 2. So he calls it all. So to cause 1, 2, to carry out, to execute. See, so the cause, they're the ones. Matter of fact, let's look that up in the NLT. So pretty much they're going to push everyone into a corner. And the only ones that's going to resist are the elect, which, like the Apostle Paul, or the Apostle Paul quoted from the Old Testament, I have reserved to myself 7,000 men which have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. So no matter what you do to the elect, they're not going to bow, because the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to be on them constantly and increasing more and more until the perfect day. So NLT says he requires everyone, see? So when you require somebody, like what did Keir Starmer say, out there in England, you will be required to have a digital ID to work in England, even though they're saying that they brought that back, or they recalled that, but nevertheless, it's a required need for a particular purpose. See, cause to be necessary, specify as what? Compulsory. So they're going to make it compulsory. They're going to make it to where your life is going to be a living hell if you don't have it, and this is why they're going to push the world into a desperate, they're going to have people in a desperate mind state to where they're going to have to comply or die, pretty much, let's see. So it says he required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead. NIV, it also forced all people. See, forced. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to use force. And what they're doing is they're forcing people, because you could use force as far as, grab somebody and force them to do something, or you could put them in a situation, an impossible situation, where it forces them to have to take an action. You see? I said it also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. Let me see something. Amplified. Also, he compels all, compels all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves. And remember that you can pay now with your smartphone on your right hand, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, signifying allegiance to the beast. See, it's an allegiance. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? For allegiance, that's the main word. They're going to compel everyone to bow the knee to the image of the beast. Let's see. Let's just try to get one more here. All right, so pretty much that's the main point. So y'all get it. So he calls it all small. So he's gonna compel people, push people into a corner, to where they're gonna have to comply to this new system, or not be able to, not be able to excel. And this is why, like, you have, even in America, you have like a credit, you have credit scores, and depending on how good your credit is, you're able to get, the better your credit is, the more goodies you can get. The worse your credit is, the less goodies you can get. So this is what they're setting up this system for that purpose. So let's see what else we can glean off of this. So it says, the administration has gleefully proclaimed that they want federal workers to be harassed and targeted. That plays into their hands and distracts from those in power. Again, we say you should be mad, but don't assume park staff have any easy way to directly stop what's happening. Get another job. That said, we have been fighting against this from the beginning. As a resistance rangers, you can help when the first censorship struck last year. A big part of the work we do went into resistancerangers.org. The Uncensored Project began to document, preserve, and protect web pages, wayside signs, media, and muzzling attempts you can configure to report content there or through projects like Save Our Signs. Together, we can not only, so they're trying to save America. See, so our comment got duplicated, so we erased the other one. Your clowns are not making the place of the founding about slavery is not erasing history. Your clowns and not making the place of the founding about slavery is not erasing history. I don't get what this guy's saying. It is about slavery, if that's what he's arguing against. Agree, understand, and sympathize. I would never attack the person doing the act. We have no idea what is forcing their hands. Yeah, there's a orange man forcing their hand. Are your feelings hurt because someone wants a full and accurate presentation of our country's history? Thank you for this. I wish there was a way for the rangers and park employees to strike. We have all been put into impossible positions. Shameful for them to see. Notice how the word shameful keeps coming up. That shameful spewing. Just follow to them. Just follow orders, but fear is the motivation this sham administration lines to use most. I believe you meant to say likes to use most. Thank you for this reminder and for all you do. It's not about slavery. It's acknowledging a very real part of history that goes along with the location. Would you also like them to remove memorials for Holocaust victims? Woo! At concentration camps in Germany, I think we found the clown. Surprise, it's you. If you want to link up and create videos of you all talking about this process, I hear a lot of ambivalence. I want to pay my mortgage and I don't want to carry out racist, inhumane orders. That tension matters, but when people remain just followed orders, the temperature keeps rising slowly, predictably. Yep. Until we're shocked to realize it's boiling, facing that discrepancy and choosing our values over compliance is hard and costly standing on the sidelines, though doesn't make us neutral, it just makes us part of the process. Yep, because you're complicit. If you know something and you don't, do something about it, you are complicit. Let's go real quick to James, the 4th chapter. And 17. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. So you're complicit in this. Those of you that partake in it. It's just like, people say, well, there's jakes out there that say, well, there's no other way we can eat, so we got to take the MOTB, the micro CF in order to be able to eat. There's nothing else left. So guess what? You're going to be destroyed for that mindset because you're complicit in the problem. You're not a part of the solution. You're part of the problem. A week before Black History Month. I wish I could say we're better than this. This is absolutely heartbreaking and disgusting. Wow, I'm at a loss for words. Yeah, well, rewriting history in front of our eyes. Well, they've been doing it. History has been rewritten over and over again. What do you think, the Renaissance is all about? The Renaissance was a great time of deception because the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. Let's go to Job 9:24. And then let me get the other one so I don't forget. And I'm just going to go straight to the point in Revelation 20. Once we get Job 9:24, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Matter of fact, let's get some NLT. The whole earth is in the hands of the wicked. And the Most High blinds the eyes of the judges. No, that's not. If he's not the one who does it, who is... When the land falls into the hands of the wicked, he blinds its judges. Right, he blinds his judges, but also he covers the judges. Because right there it uses the word covered. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. Covereth is the word kasar, which we just read earlier. To cover, conceal, hide. So they're but concealing and hiding true facts. Why? Because during the time of the Renaissance, that's when they took hold, of the world and deceived the whole world. Revelation 27, and when the 1,000 years are expired, that's from the fall of the Edomite Roman Empire to the re-emergence or the rebirth of the Edomite Empire later on, the revival of the ancient Roman Empire through what was known as the Renaissance. And what was the very first thing they did? And shall go out to deceive the nations which are on the four corners of the earth. And how did they do that? By putting up their pictures. Why? Because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And he covered the faces of the judges thereof. See? It says, if not, where and who is he? So who did it? You're seeing right here, these are, even though you might have had, let's say you might have had Jake doing this, but you would have been a dummy to do that. But let's say Jake was a park ranger. They were taking these down. Who are they taking it down for? The Edomites. Because it's the higher ups, really the small hats that's pushing to get rid of all of this. Because it's a shameful spewing on them. And Lord's will I could go over this, because there was a point in here. But I was having a conversation with the chat, based off of a video I was watching Elder Yashwamba do yesterday. And it was something he had mentioned about something along the lines of, I can't really remember exactly what he said, something along the lines of, witchcraft and, the things that these people are following here, in America, something along those lines. And it kind of prompted me to ask certain questions to the chat. And there was something else that came up that it just popped in my head. I'm not sure if it was based off of Revelation 20 or Job 9 that's in here. I believe it was during the Renaissance period. That's what it was. So Lord's will, I could do another lesson on that, because this document is about 15 pages long. And of course, we're not going to be able to get through all 15 pages, but, we'll get a few points. So pretty much you see that, and this, I'll put this in the chat if I can. Nope, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Copy, put this in the description box. I mean, in the chat, so in case any of you brothers or few sisters would like to grab that, just so you can have it in your records. But you can see what they're doing. And just because you hide history doesn't mean that the Lord ain't going to make it right. Because the Lord said he will not at all acquit the wicked. And if you notice, they don't really have Jake doing it. They have Edomite-looking individuals doing it. And you see how much trouble is taking them, or how hard it is to take all these things down. And they broke they even broke the bricks getting that stuff off of there. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.